I'm continuing my reading, and what I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a little bit as I move along. Right now, I am in the Book of Judges. This will be chapter 15, continuing the story of Samson. And I do like, the story of Samson is a little bit comical. This is where we really get the comical stuff here, but here we go. Samson burns corn of Philistines. They burn his wife and father-in-law. Samson slays 1,000 Philistines at Lehi with jawbone of an ass. Okay. But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid. And he said, I will go in to my wife, into the chamber. But her father would not suffer him to go in. And her father said, I verily thought that thou hadst utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to thy companion. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray, instead of her. So Samson came back to get his wife. He wanted to go in to the bedroom and, have his intimate moments. And he was refused, and now he's going to get angry again. Verse 3, And Samson said concerning them, Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between two tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let them go into the standing corn of the Philistines, and burnt up both the shocks and also the standing corn with the vineyards and olives. "300 foxes. And then he tied their tails together, two tails. So he got 150 pairs, each with a torch, tied with their tails. Light the torch, let them loose. Those foxes were running wild, trying to get it away from the fire and away from each other. And it just sent them through all the crops. It destroyed the standing crops, the harvest, the stuff that had already been harvested, and all the vineyards, the olive trees. Burnt everything. When Samson gets revenge, he knows how to get his payback. He knows how to do it. And in this case, revenge was not a dish served up cold. Verse 6, Then the Philistines said, Who hath done this? And they answered, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion. And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire. And Samson said unto them, Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease. And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter, and he went down and dwelt in the top of the rock Etam. So I think the Philistines killed the father-in-law and killed her and her father-in-law. Burnt the whole. It says burnt her and her father-in-law. So did they burn them at the stake, or did they just burn the house down, kill everybody? But not really. The details aren't given. But it seems that they did this in a sense to try and appease Samson. So Samson just destroyed everything because he was mad at these guys. Maybe if we kill them, if we execute them, then Samson will leave the rest of us alone. And so they go and kill him. And Samson says, No, you just killed my wife. Now we're going to have to kill more of you. So they thought they were going to appease him, and they just made him more angry. And so he says he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter. So now I was looking at the footnotes here, and it does say here when it says burnt her and her father with fire. So many alternate manuscripts that have been found, such as the Septuagint, the Syriac Bible, and some even alternate Hebrew manuscripts, say her father's house. So not just her father. So it if we take those as accurate, then it would have been they burnt the building down, killing everybody in it. So, after that slaughter, he just goes off and hangs out by himself. He said, okay, I'm done. Let's continue, verse 9. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah, and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, why are ye come up against us? And they answered, to bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he hath done to us. Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Etam, and said to Samson, knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, as they did unto me, so have I done unto them. And they said unto him, we are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves. And they spake unto him, saying, no, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. So after this whole thing, the Philistines take an army into Judah, searching for Samson. And when all the Jews there, all the Judahites, they're looking around, like, why are you here? We haven't done anything. What's this all about? We didn't rebel. And they say, oh, we're looking for Samson. Okay. So they go get Samson. And Samson just says, if you won't kill me, I'll go with you. And they agree. And so he goes with them. Now, I don't think they could have forced Samson to go with them. Because you know that with the whole firebrands, with the foxes, and with the slaughter of the Philistines after that, it doesn't say that the Spirit of God worked on Samson at these times. These are just things that he did. He was obviously a very strong, very capable guy, and the Judahites probably did not want to fight him. Anyways, verse 14. And when he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. And the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jawbone of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called that place Ramoth Lehi. And he was sore athirst, and called on the Lord, and said, thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised? But God clave an hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof En-Hakkore, which is in Lehi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. A couple of notes here, first of all. I love this. I love that description. The Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. And the bands, the cords, the ropes became as flax that had been burnt in a fire. So in other words, they shattered. They didn't just fall off him. He didn't just break them. You can just, you see that? Great story. I love that. And then he picks up a bone, the jawbone of an ass, as his only weapon, and he just starts wailing on guys, and he kills 1,000 of them. This is an incredible story. You'll also note the name Lehi, which happens to mean the jawbone of an ass, or actually means just jawbone. But this raises the question, was the place called Lehi because of what Samson did, and so it had a different name before that? Or was it, no, he says it was called Ramoth, he called it Ramoth Lehi, and then En-Hakkore, I believe it was, wasn't it? Let me see. En-Hakkore, yeah. Meaning the spring of him who calls. So here's the thing. So he called it Ramoth Lehi. So was it in Ramoth? And because he used the jawbone, it became known as Lehi. He took Ramoth, called it Ramoth Lehi, and just later on just becomes Lehi. So in the time that the author is writing Judges, he just calls it Lehi. Very interesting little historical stuff. You get these little tidbits all through the Bible, because the authors who are describing the events most often lived significantly after those events. They're historians compiling and putting forth these stories that would have been known and would have been recorded in other records, and they're trying to make them known to the people of their day, understandable to the people of their day. It's very interesting stuff. But the jawbone of an ass, Ramoth Lehi, very interesting. The last thing I want to mention is that the spring. It says that he clave the I can't remember the word now. Hollow, yeah, just clave a hollow place in the jaw, right? Now, this wasn't the jawbone that he killed the Philistines with. He wasn't holding a jawbone and it broke open and water just started spouting out of it. That would have been very impressive. But it means a hollow place in the rock, in the jaw, in the cleft of the rock. God caused a spring to spring out. The name En Hakor means the spring of him who calls. So he prayed to God for water. God created a new spring for him, and he drank of it. And this is partly why I think that he gets somewhat of a worse reputation than he really deserves. Because clearly God is with him at this time. God is with him. The Spirit of the Lord is working with him, is in increasing his already natural strength. And when he prays to God, God answers him. And in this, yes, he married outside the covenant. But other than that, there's no direct indication in these chapters that he really did anything that was necessarily wicked. He did have a temper, but it even says that this was set up by God so that he would vex the Philistines. The one thing I do agree is that he does fail to do what he was supposed to do, which is deliver Israel. But that comes in later. At this point, I don't really see his reputation being justified. Later on, what gives him his reputation is the last chapter of his story, which is chapter 16, and the story of Delilah. But up to that point, he was a bit hot-headed, had a short temper, but he doesn't seem to be he actually seems to be a very righteous man at that point. And he judges Israel for 20 years as a good judge. There's no indication that he was corrupt in any way. He was a good judge for 20 years. I think that his reputation is very much not deserved, but because of what happens later in his life, after these 20 years of judging, he falls into temptation with Delilah, and his reputation is created from that single event. But that's just me. That's just how I consider it. When I read about Samson, I really like Samson. Honestly, I think Samson is the origin of the Hercules myths. But I'm going to leave that here, and I will see you in the next one.